everyone, welcome to Teach Nation. My name is Gifty. I'm super excited to this video because it's all about classroom management. I wish I knew all of these things I'm about to tell you before I became a teacher, but because I know them now, I want to share with you, and I believe it's going to help teachers who watch this learn new tricks of how to manage your classroom. So let's get started. First things first, that we have to be firm as a teacher. Firm but loving, obviously. But if you're too kind or too friendly with your students or try to be your friends with your students, they're gonna walk all over you. They're not gonna see you as a teacher. They're not gonna see you as a leader. So it's really important to be firm, have some type of leadership in your classroom, but also be loving and kind to them so they know they can come to you if they need help with their work or whatever issues they may have in the playground. So that's the first thing first. If there's no type of relationship or strict line of where your relationship is with your students, it's really hard to teach them and manage your classroom. So that's where it starts, the first day of school. I remember my first day of school when, in September, my students came in, and I'm a very bubbly person. I like to talk, I'm very bubbly. And it was so hard for me on my first day to be very straight. I'd be like, I would do that, and it was so hard for me. And my students would be like, ooh. But I had to set that ground, or else my students would walk all over me during the school term. So I really set that boundary straight right in the beginning. And now that my students know me, and now I'm a bit more looser and I joke around with them sometimes, but I still make sure they know I'm the leader in my classroom. So the first things first is make sure there's a firm foundation of they know who you are as a teacher, and make it firm and make it also kind and loving, because you don't want to be too firm and your students don't like you. So there's a boundary, so a good balance, I would say. So firm, but yet kind as well to your students and loving to them. So that's my first classroom management strategy that I use. Second is, right when my students walk into my classroom, I make sure on my smart board there is a list of what they need to do. Because if there's no type of structure right when they walk into my classroom, it's chaos. They're gonna be talking to their friends, they're gonna be asking to go to the bathroom, they can say, oh, I forgot something here. So I make sure on my board is, let's say for example, say good morning year 4, because I teach grade 4. And then I have the day, and I have list things to do for today or this morning. So I make sure it's silent reading, so they make sure they know they come in, the first thing they do is put their stuff away and they read silently. Or let's say for example, the day before we didn't get to finish our work, so I write catch up work on, let's say, English. So you know exactly what to do when they come in. So that is something that's super important, because if your day starts with your students being already chaotic, oh my goodness, it's just gonna tumble down to the afternoon, unless you set it straight I guess during lunchtime, after lunchtime. But it's better to do it right when you walk in. That's my second tip. Third is, when I start my lesson with my students, after my smart board message is gone, and now I'm trying to communicate with my students and make sure they know what we're going to be doing now, is if I see some disruptive behavior, students talking or students just being off task, I always, when I see a student that's actually on task behavior, I say, thank you so-and-so, thank you Bob, thank you Billy, thank you so-and-so. I make sure I do that so that my students who are being disruptive, they're like, oh, Miss Gifty is saying thank you, so I want to thank you, and they sit up straight and they do this, and they're ready to get on task what we're supposed to be doing. So that's one of my strategies I use. It works like a charm. Instead of picking on the negative students, like so-and-so, what are you doing? You're talking, you should be listening, so-and-so. I'd rather just look at the positive reinforcement, and then as I do that, my other students who are being disruptive by talking, they hear me giving positive feedback to the students who are behaving, so they want to get the positive feedback too. So that's something I do, and it works like a charm. It's like a domino effect in my classroom every time I do that. So that's something I use, and it's so much better than picking on the students who are being disruptive. Just pick on the students who are doing good. Some other things I do when my students are, let's say, chatting when they're not supposed to be chatting while I'm teaching is sometimes I just stop the lesson. I just sit down quietly at my desk and I'm just like, I just stop teaching. And then my students are like, kind of like, wait, Miss Gifty, I don't hear Miss Gifty's voice anymore. And they get curious what's going on. They see me sitting down, they're like, oh, and they get back to what they're supposed to be doing. Or sometimes I just do a hand clap if I have no time to waste. Sit down, I just, and then they copy my rhythm of what I'm doing, and that gets everyone's attention on me because you have no choice to. You can't do that while you're talking, right? You can, but the fact that you're doing this, they know to stop talking and focus back on what we're doing. Next thing I do in my classroom is, as we know, students love to use the bathroom. If it's to actually use it, or if it's to get away from classrooms, we know our students love to use the bathroom. So one thing I do is that when my students need to use the bathroom for whatever reason, sometimes it can be distracting, especially if I'm in the middle of the classroom teaching and my student comes to me like, Miss Gifty, I need to use the washroom. In the middle of me teaching, like, I don't know, on vacation, I'm just like, So what I do now is that my students are sitting down where they are and they just give me a sign of this. When they do this, I know you can go use the washroom. So that limits the distractions of me teaching and really manages my classroom that no one else is getting distracted because a student just came up to me as I'm teaching to ask me to use the washroom or the bathroom. So that's one thing I do. I use this. I use different codes. I think that really helps. Sometimes I'm grading something. I have a line next to my desk and people on that line may want to use the washroom, right? So instead of them waiting in line to use the washroom, they just come to me, they do this. And it's like, okay, go, go, go. And it just limits distractions. It limits them to miss out on their work instead of waiting in line to ask me, Miss Gifty, can I please use the washroom? It's just a great classroom management strategy I learned during my internship experience, and I used it and it's great. And my students like it too because they just know, like, they do this to me. I'm like, okay, got it. So that's one thing I'm using in my classroom to manage the whole bathroom situation. And yeah. Next thing I think is super important to have in your classroom is find codes with your students. I don't necessarily have codes with my students for this particular strategy, but it's basically when students are feeling tired in your classroom and they're kind of feeling not reckless. What's the word? They're kind of feeling, I guess, tired and just getting distracted because they're tired. I have my classroom, and outside my classroom I have another classroom, and within that it's like a space for a table and a chair where my students can go in there if they feel like they're getting distracted and so. So they come to me, they tell me, Miss Gifty, I really need to go to the other room because I'm getting distracted, I'm not getting much work done. I'm like, yes, go. I love that you've noticed this, so please go. So that's one of my strategies I use. I don't ban that place for anyone. I make sure that they have to obviously ask me first, so I know they're out of the classroom to go there. Or sometimes some of my students don't want to sit on their chairs and they want to sit, let's say, do their work in the library. So and there's a cushion in my library. So they go there and they do their work there. And this is a classroom strategy because if your student who is getting distracted or feeling tired or not focusing doesn't have the opportunity to have that chance to, let's say, go outside the classroom to do their work in my other room or go to the library and sit in a pillow and do their work, then most likely they're also going to be distracted in another student next to them, which can ruin the management in the classroom. So this is something I do that works. I do feel like I want to implement more in that sense, but so far this is working, especially the other room that's outside my classroom, because a lot of my students not a lot of them, some of them get really distracted and they know they're getting distracted. Once they go there, they come back and I see the work and I'm like, you got this all done just now? It's like, yes, Miss Gifty. I'm like, thank you, God. So yeah, so it's working like a charm. And yeah, if you don't have that advantage of having another room for your classroom, just make the library corner beautiful and cooling, or find a space in your classroom corner or something. You can put pillows there. So just make it seem like a place that it's known for peace and to do their work, and trust me, they will take advantage of it in the right way. So yeah. Next thing I do is the noodle strategy. I absolutely love this strategy. I learned this strategy last year from one of my colleagues at work, and oh my goodness, it works like a charm. I actually have the video on my Instagram of how to use it. I'll link my Instagram below. Basically what it is that I have this box, a clear container, and I put noodles, a handful of noodles in or a little bit out if my students are being disruptive and my students are being really good. I see that there's like, let's say they're on task, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I put a handful of noodles in and my students love it. And the reason why they love it is because one, they're really competitive, so they really want to get to the top. And each level of my noodle is basically a benefit, or a benefit in terms of like a prize that they can get. A prize in the sense of, let's say the first one that I had is 15 minutes extra playtime. The second one, if you get to the top one, the second one is extra 30-minute laptop time, like free time they can be on their laptops and do so and so. And the last level is afternoon movie time. So they take these rewards and they love it, and they're trying so hard to get to the top. So far we have gotten to 15 minutes extra playtime. Now they're trying to get to 30-minute laptop time, but my kids are getting very well before, because now I'm on half term, which is break time, and before the break they were kind of getting really excited for breaks. I had to take out some noodles. They're not actually there yet on the second level, but they're really trying hard to get there. So that is a strategy that I'm using. It works like a charm because it gets your students to, first of all, work together as a group to get to their common goal, which is to the top of the container. And also it works like a charm because once I take some noodles out, I'm like, oh, I'm taking some noodles, and I put it away. They're like, shh, 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 and they all try to get to do their work very quietly. So it works like a charm, to be honest. I'm so thankful for the teacher that gave me this strategy because it's honestly working in my classroom super duper well. And yeah, last but not least, this is absolutely honestly my favorite one, and I discovered this accidentally this year, and I'm like, I'm trying to promote this to every teacher I know. I'm like, do it, it's so good. It's my timer. Oh my goodness. So at the end of the day, but it relates to the noodles. So at the end of the day, my classroom is so disgusting and messy, and like papers everywhere, pencils, erasers. It's just chaotic, and I just feel so bad leaving. It's such a mess for the cleaners to come, the caretakers to come and clean it. I just don't like that. Like when we can do it ourselves, especially when we have like 30 plus students in my classroom. So what I do is I put a timer. I put a timer on my smartboard of 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It depends on how much time we have during the afternoon to get outside to bring them to their parents. I put a timer on my board. And what we do is, I'm just laughing because it works so well. What I do is that I put a timer on the board, and then my students have to clean up their class, have to clean up the classroom, has a team. So they clean up the class and pick up everything from the floor. Their desk has to be tidy. Even the library has to be nice and neat. Everything has to be perfect. And before the timer goes off, they have to all be at their spots, waiting for prayer, because I teach at a Christian school, so they have to be at their spots waiting for us to pray before the end of the day. And while they're doing this, they cannot talk. There's no running, there's no talking. The only person that can talk is me, or someone has to ask me a question, but they have to whisper in case of emergency, obviously. But it works like a charm, and once the timer goes off, they're at their spots ready to pray to God. And then so I go around as an inspector, and I'm looking around to see if everything's okay. And then I ask them, I'm like, how do you think you did? And they raise up their hand. They're very honest. I teach grade 4, so they're super duper honest. And they're like, Miss Gifty, actually, so and so spoke to me. I'm like, oh. And then for it has a consequence, I remove a little bit of noodles. But if they do get it, I put a handful of noodles in, and they are so excited because their common goal is to get to the top of the noodles. So this works like a charm. So if you're doing something in your classroom for them to get to a common goal with, let's say mine is a noodles. If you have something that you're doing in your classroom for benefits, you can use this timer in your classroom, and then if they succeed at it with no talking, the classroom's super clean, they're where they are, where they're supposed to be, they are where they're supposed to be after the timer goes off, then you can give them that prize that you guys are working on, or a little hint of that prize you're working on. So this is something I do. It works like a charm. My class, when they leave, my class is super duper tighty, and it's just, I accidentally figured this out and it's working like a charm. So yeah, so that's all for my classroom management strategies. I'm not really sure how many of those were, but I'm glad I got to share with you, because when I came to a teaching career, I really started from zero. I had no classroom management strategies on deck. I had some, but they weren't working. So through time, I figured these ones out, and they're working like a charm. So it might work for you. So try them out. If you do, let me know, because I really want to know if, like, whoever it works for in our classroom. So don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Message me on Instagram or here. I would love to chat with you. I love sharing knowledge and networking. So let me know what you think. And also, I'm still receiving emails from teachers, so please, if you want to be part of this database I'm about to create for teachers, please send me your email. It's going to be an awesome way for teachers to just learn together and grow as teachers. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. I know I spoke a lot in this one, but I'm just glad I got to share my knowledge. Bye, take care.